Welcome to Fish Fight 2024. Godot versus Unity, and Unity is losing massively. So let's get this show on the road, shall we? We're still redoing Fish in Godot and Unity, and this is a little fish here. Camera there, screen here. Don't worry. It's Saturday. It's Saturday, so nobody will be watching anyway. So why am I here? Because I had that idea at the end of the last stream, and I want to do that, right? So let me switch to the main scene so we don't have the stream overlays for a second. I could have just pressed play. So last time we added these buttons, right? And they kind of they work. They work, but that sucks, right? And technically we are in somewhere in land of at the in-game hut. Yeah, I think that's done. That's done in Godot, right? I mean, this is the in-game hut here, and that's I can only start swimming if I. Oh, maybe we should auto unpause on space. So that is working, right? I'm not sure if we should use a monospaced font, but that's the font we choose, and we're doing the remake, right? And coin collection and everything is working, and tons of coins, and when we die, the rain was not connected to the dying, right? That was just random coincidence. Everything resets. And you saw stuff plopping out there, and I really want to fade stuff because that will make it look so much better. So before we jump, and it's Saturday, right? Before we jump into the add in-game pause menu and settings, which, I mean, is kind of needed, but not really used right now. So in-game pauses, and you see here we have the nice fade, right? And I want that fade back. Here we have this is the in-game pause menu, right? And version information is important, and audio controls are important. So we're gonna do this screen, but you see also this screen is fading in and out nicely. There's something weird ongoing, but yeah, good with me. And also, if you look closely, if we die, you see the rocks fade out and this dialog fades in. So we're gonna need a bit of fading anyway. So I thought, let's just do this now, right? So today, fading, and I have no idea, right? Because last time we looked, and we want to make it generic, but let's do it for one thing first. So last time we looked, we had this texture button here, right? This texture button, and I couldn't find anything to set like a color or something. So I'm not sure what's going. Oh no. What's going on here? So textures, base button, shortcut, layout, and there was nothing to kind of control the visibility. Sometimes it helps to sleep over a project, so there's nothing to control the visibility of this object, right? So So what if, and sorry, my head is in the way, but we have, don't look at me. Look here, right? Here we have alpha, and I'm going to try to stare at it. And that's exactly what we want, right? Obviously not me dragging the slider, but okay. Oh. Okay. Okay, that works. So what we want to do is, and so what if, let's create a toggle button, right? Let's create, shall we? Let's create a fish toggle button, right? Is it a toggle button? What did we call it in the original? Right, because we're still doing the port, so maybe we just use the same naming conventions. And we called it toggle button, which basically just had two buttons and did some where's the fading? Oh, okay. So here's we actually had go to A and go to B, right? Where we set the fade in, fade out. So here we had the fade in and fade out on our button, right? So that could be an option. And actually that would be super helpful on the, so what if you had a fadable, what if you had a script that made something fadable? So what if we had a node that made the child fadable, right? So what if, instead of having the settings button here, we have, and I'm going to juggle this a bit, right? But we add a child, which is a control, I guess. I'm not sure I want to do it this way around. I am not sure. Let's see. Let's try this, right? And we call this setting. I'm not sure where I'm currently typing, so can't undo while mouse buttons are pressed. Okay. We add a control and we name this settings button fade. And we could just put a script on the button, but the button might have other functionality, so I want to put it on the parent. So if we put it up here, right? No, the other way around, right? Visually still the same, but if I go to the visibility here now and modulate that, I can fade out the child, right? Which is nice. I think what confuses me a bit is that this container here, right? This container doesn't include the second button, because this one here, the layout is So the size of this one is correct, right? So maybe this should have been a container. Maybe this should have been, let's see what control knows. Maybe this should have been a container, right? Okay, maybe we undo this, but how do we? So here, right? Here we have the layout. Wait. Layout mode is anchors, right? So 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 how do I make this? Probably should be a container. Should be a container. So what if we make this center container, and now the box has the right size. Okay. So center container I can live with. How do we do this? We want to attach a script, right? We want this to be able to fade in and fade out. So we need to attach a script. And right now it does. That was an error, right? There was an error. No, okay. Right now it serves no purpose, right? It just works. So what if we make this fade button, right? So we attach a script and call this button fade. I mean, it's not even a button, right? It's a fadable container. Yeah, it's a fadable container, and we have to decide where we put all this stuff. So it's a fadable container, and what if we had a function fade in with duration, right? Which is a float, which returns nothing, and let's not implement it right now, and we have a func fade out, which is a duration and a float, right? We're creating generic button UI here, so crazy. UI is so hard. No, UI is not hard in can't save resource or empty pass. What's this? My disk full? Is Unity? No. So we're gonna use this, right? So when we press the pause button, and there's actually a script attached, right? This button toggles its texture. We're gonna replace that in a second, but when we toggle the pause, right? When we toggle the pause, we set the settings button to invisible and visible. And what we will do instead, our settings button as, what did we call this? Oh, class fadable container. Yeah, and it's class name, right? It's class name. So this is a fadable container, and then here we can say as fadable container. Oh, tell me that I'm stupid, but right? And if that works, right? Else we just do what we did before. Right? If it's a fadable container, and this is a bit overly defensive, but if it's a fadable container, we just say it settings button fade out. And I'm not sure we should set the time here, but let's have a nice 5-second fade, right? And we can do the same here, and we'll rejuggle the logic. We're just handcrafting this for the moment. So if it's not false, right? And actually this is fade in. This is fade in and this is fade out. And we'll make this simpler, right? We'll make it a toggle button and then do something. You could probably get away with just calling settings button fade out, right? And hoping we didn't mess up. But I want to do it explicitly first. So if I do this now, why is it changing its visibility? Because the settings button, right? The settings button is not a fadable, right? We need to set the parent. So we make this uniquely accessible for the moment and put this in here, right? So use this and this and this and this. And now nothing happens, right? Because fade in and fade out does nothing. You could quickly mitigate that and say, okay, when we're supposed to fade in, we just say visible is true. And when we fade out, we say visible is false, right? Now we have the old behavior, but we control our visibility, right? Why? Why? Because of initialization, right? Because the in-game pause menu on ready sets the settings button and not the settings button fade to. So our fade was visible, but our button itself not, right? So we have the old behavior, but we move the control inside to the button and we have a function that calls fade, right? So what if in fadable controller, let's say we want to fade in, right? We say, we have the visibility here, right? We have the modulate. So what if you set the modulate and maybe, can we set the alpha? We can set the alpha to, is this an, what type is this? Modulate color, and color is a float. Something is not saving, so you see this is half visible now. Obviously that's not what we want. So how do we could write a target alpha and in process update our own alpha. And I think actually that's what we're gonna do, right? We could use a tween, but then we probably would need to, what if we press the button while what if I press fast, right? What if I do this? I mean, I want to stop the currently ongoing animation and pick it up where it is, right? So I'm not sure what I want. Let's handcraft it for the moment, right? So, okay. What do we have? We have alpha, right? And that defaults to visible. We have a alpha change speed. Let's call it speed, right? And I'm going to tell you why this is speed in a second. So that's 0, right? In process, we're going to say alpha equals, alpha equals alpha plus equals alpha speed times delta, right? And then here we just, and after that we just say modulate A equals alpha, right? So when we fade in, we set the alpha speed to basically it's 1.0 divided by duration, right? We want to get to 1 in X seconds. And basically when we fade out and this visibility, I'm going to remove this visibility here for a second, right? So this will overshoot right now, right? Because we don't handle the stopping. So, but it fades in and at some point it starts to fade out, right? It fades in and it fades out. Obviously it completely overshoots, so we need to clamp the value, right? So if alpha is larger than 1.0, then we just set the alpha speed, right, to 0, stop moving, and set the alpha to exactly 1.0. And then else if alpha is smaller than 0.0, we set the alpha speed to 0.0 and set the alpha to exactly 0.0, right? And technically we only need to do this if, I mean, we could do if alpha speed not equals 0.0, right? And then we do this. If we're not changing alpha, we don't do anything, right? Makes sense? Yeah, it does. Stupid trailing tabs, right? So if I start this now, we have now a button. I'm not sure why it jumps in. Why it jumps in. Okay, because we're cheating here, right? We're using 2 different systems. So can you go here, please? What we will do here is settings button. We can just do a fade out 0.0, right? And this is an unsafe version of doing it. But the problem was that the alpha was not set. So when we hit it, so fade in, fade out, and we can change the fade in the middle of it, right? And this is now clickable. We concern ourselves later with that. This is obviously too slow. So I'm gonna, I don't know, maybe 1 second, even half a second or a few frames would help to make it look nicer. Right? Fade in, fade out, fade in, fade out. I think it's overshooting there at the end. Feels like it's locking in when it's hitting 1. Maybe. Right now we're only modulating the alpha, right? What if we said what if we did it for all 3? I'm not sure this is a good idea. I didn't think this through. Yeah, then it fades to black, which is not what we want, right? So only the alpha was the right thing to do. We don't want to change the color, we just want to wash it out. So obviously, when it's fully faded out, right, I'm leaning towards making it invisible, changing the visibility to 0. The problem is, right, if you have the pause button, if you change the visibility, it changes the positioning of everything else, right? So I want to make it invisible, but not handle, right? So we want to set the filter mode to be not clickable. So probably we want to ignore, right? So mouse filter ignore. And we're slowly getting there. So we have a fadable container. So when we start fading out, right? At the beginning of the fade out, as soon as we start fading out, we don't want any clicks anymore, right? And let me, how do I'm quickly gonna say, no, I always click here and then wonder. So func on settings button pressed, right? Yeah, we can just go void. I'm not sure why I'm having an ad break half an hour in. That should not, sorry about that. Settings button is pressed, right? Obviously this is not wired up, but we can go to the settings button, not to the fade. Go here, on pressed, right? On pressed, and we just go to the in-game on settings button. Pressed is the one we want to connect it, right? I'm not, this is a bit scary. I hope we don't lose any. I wish it would tell me. So, right, if you look here, I can press the button and I can press it when it's fading, right? So when it's fading in, I probably want it pressable, but when it's fading out, I want to be like, no, not yet, right? So I'm going to fix that real quick. And we're going to say in the fadable container, what if? As soon as we start fading out, right, we say mouse dot filter. What's mouse filter, right? Mouse filter. Mouse underscore filter. Okay, mouse underscore filter equals what's the type of this? What is the type of this? It's mouse filter. Right, and this is mouse filter ignore. And we just set the mouse filter to ignore. And on fade in, we just set the thing to mouse filter stop. Right, and I'm not sure we need this visible here because we never make it invisible. So let's try this. So on the fade in, we can press the settings button, right? And we can press it as long as visible. Let's make that, oh. So it is pass, but the child is not pass, right? What does it do? Did I say ignore or pass? I said ignore, right? Oh, so we need to set the mouse filter on the children. This is ugly, right? This is a bit ugly, but we can do that. So, because it's handled from the bottom up, because obviously the children are in front of the parent and get the input first. So what we need to do is for C in get children, right? We say c.mouseFilter. Oh, I used the other editor for too long, right? And basically here we say there's the same. If there are a lot of children, this will get ugly really fast. And I'm gonna make the fade longer again, right? Let's make the fade really long to give us some time to see what's going on. So we fade in, and I can press the settings button even during the fade, right? Bit hard to see because, and if I can I clear this? Can I clear this? So I can still press the settings button, right? And if I just want one there. If I fade out, I can hammer this button as much as I want. Nothing happens, right? But as soon as I switch to fading back in, I can press the button again. So if I fade out, I can't press it. If I fade in, I can press it, right? That's exactly the behavior we want. So that's nice. Just good to have it solved now. And if you're sure you have set up your scene correctly, you can do this. If you are not sure, we can do this to be better safe than sorry, right? And now we have a fadeable button that ignores clicks while it is fading. Well, while it is fading out, right? And maybe this needs to be faster. Maybe this needs to be just, I don't know, a third of a second. This probably should be a global theme configuration value. I just don't want it to be like bam, bam, right? I want it to be like. So this is nice. And now we have the half the equation for the toggle button, right? Because a toggle button is basically just two buttons that fade in opposite directions. So let's do that as well. So right now the pause button has a script, right? That switches the textures, which is not really what we want. So what if we had, and this is going to be a center container as well, right? It's not a fadable container. It's going to be center container, and we call this pause toggle button, right? Give me a second. So no, I want this here. So what if we said we could just hardwire it, right? And give it a field where obviously this is gonna need a script, right? And this is a toggle button. What did we, it's a toggle button container, right? So I want to rename that script real quick. Naming schemes, right? This is a toggle button container. And we could just have at export var button A, right? Which is a texture button, right? And then we had a button B. We could do this right? And then just assign the buttons here and have the actual buttons under that. So the idea is that we add a child, add a child that is a texture button, right? Texture button. And this is basically, let's rename this pause button A. Right, and actually this is a fadable button, right? So what if we just said, we add a child node, and this is, can we make a custom control out of this? Yeah, we're killing our UI right now, right? So let's kill this UI button for the moment. And this pause button here, right? Pause button A needs a texture. And we have that in UI button pause, right? This is our pause button now. This one here is gone, and this one is replacing, right? And then we have a pause button B, and this is actually this is pause button fade A, right? And then we duplicate that and have a pause button fade B, right? And this is a pause button B. And obviously this needs a different texture, so let's fix that real quick so we see what we're doing, right? So we have the play and the pause button, right? And the positioning was a bit weird, but all of these are in the same position, right? Because it's center containers, they are just in the same space. So I'm gonna give this a and B pressed, right? Because the toggle button should handle its own state. All right, so I'm gonna go here and say func on A pressed, right? There's nothing, and then a func on B pressed. All right, and then this here, we go to the toggle button, and now it's getting complicated, right? To the toggle button. Wait, the toggle, where did I add this? Let's disconnect this and let's do this again, right? I want the toggle button container, which is this one, right? And I want on A pressed, right? Something is, where does this come from? Right, and then on B, I want to say on the toggle button. I'm not sure on B pressed. Oh, okay, it auto-created it, right? So the buttons tell the toggle, hey, do this. And basically, if A is pressed, right? If A was pressable, we know we need to go to state B. We need to go to state B, and for that we need to say, hey, button A, fade out, right? Let's do this slow fade here, and button B, fade in. Also over 1 second, right? And in the other case, we just do it the other way around. right? In and out. I'm not sure if this is the best way of doing this, but we broke something. Oh. So we never wired up the buttons, right? So this is button A and this is button B, and I don't want this manual wiring up even to be needed, right? So what did we do? My bad, because this is obviously the fade button, right? Oh, this needs a fadable container, right? This needs a fadable container. Maybe it should have been a fadable. I'm not sure yet. And now we can drag the fade in here and the fade in here, right? And the first click worked. So print A, right? This worked and this did not. So watch down here. I pressed B because, oh, I pressed B. I pressed B, so yeah, obviously the pause button is A. We are in the wrong state, right? And then I press again and nothing happens. So why does nothing happen? So why does nothing happen? Because we blocked the input. We blocked the input, right? So if we look here, and go to mouse, this B is set to stop and A is set to stop. Oh, wait. Wait a second. Wait a second. Wait a second. So, okay. I want to we have definitely a fade out, right? So obviously the pause toggle button on ready, right? On ready needs to do something. And our default is button A dot fade in, right? Very quick, immediately. And button B fade out also immediately. And actually, I think we need to special case this, because if I go to fade out, if the duration is 0, we get a division by 0, right? So if duration is larger than 0, right? If it's not instant, just do this. Else we just set alpha to, this is fade into 1, right? We just fade it in and modulate A to alpha. We could just say 1.0, right? And the same down here, and I'm going to be lazy, as always, right? The only difference here, if duration is larger than 0, we do the same as before, and otherwise we just go fully faded out, right? I'm not sure. Which resource are you talking about? I'm going to close and open the project in a second. So oh, I was on the... Okay, I'm going to move this to the other screen. It's still there. We have the UI here, right? We have the in-game pause menu. We have the container, the HBox. We have the pause toggle button, right? And we have pause A and pause B. And pause B is modulated to invisible, right? And the mouse filter is set to pass. Wait, are we doing this the wrong way around? And A, the mouse filter is set to pass. Why is the mouse filter on A set to pass? Who did that? Was that our first click? Why is the mouse filter on A? Should this be stop? And then here it's stop and stop by default, right? So I need to change the window size. So why don't I get clicks anymore? Let's disable this for a second. Yes, I might get wrong clicks now. So again, come on. I just wanted you half off screen. So watch here. We get B, right? We click B. We get B. So we get B. In the toggle button container, on B pressed, we fade A in and B out, right? We fade A in and B out. So if we fade A in, with the duration greater 0, we set the mouse filter on A to stop, right? Because we want mouse events. So we want mouse events here. And we want this one to... What's the difference between ignore and pass? So the click on B should work, right? So again, and this is a bit... initially, we fade in A and fade out B, right? That means A is set to stop and B is set to ignore. And as soon as we set B to ignore, we don't get button clicks anymore, right? Because they are... That sounds like a bug to me. So what if we use the visibility here? I don't want to, right? Because of the jittering, but let's solve one problem after the other, right? So, The problem is now the problem is I can still click it while fading. Can we override the... Okay, I don't want to touch the visibility, right? I do not want to touch the visibility. Probably when the alpha, well... So, okay. Center container, it's probably a control, right? Who's handling the input? Methods. GUI input. Okay. So control is obstructed by another control which does not have mouse filter set to ignore. So I think actually this should work. Where's the problem? Where is the problem? Do you see it? I don't see it. So if we fade it in, we want the mouse events, right? And actually, we want mouse events, right? If we fade it out, we don't want mouse events, right? We and our children. Oh, that was it. I only disabled the children and not ourselves. Okay. So the button knows how to toggle now, right? The button knows how to toggle now. So we need a signal. Right? The button now needs to tell the user, because in the end, this will be opaque, right? And I'm not sure how we make this reusable. We'll see about that. And I don't like this, to be honest. So maybe we just on ready, we just say, hey, give me my first 2 children and I'll use those. But for now, we're gonna do that when we work more on it, right? We'll do the minimum we need for the moment. So I want the, remember the pause button that used to work, right? Well, now we have 2. Let's see. Right, this is our, well, this is our new one that does nothing but looks fancy, and this is the old one that does something but doesn't look fancy. So let's make the new one do something and trigger the settings. And that should be straightforward, right? Because we have the pause toggle button. So what if we have a signal here that's toggled, right? Toggled. How do you, what's the exact syntax? GD script signal. I want the script connected signal in the editor. How do I? How do I declare signal from code? I forgot. Signal. So we just have the signal name and then we just emit it. And the emit can have a parameter, right? So the signal is toggled, right? And basically here we say toggle.emit. And I want to say which one was toggled, right? the user can always throw it away. So we have it toggled, right? So we want the in-game pause menu. I mean, let's say just for on pause toggled, right? And this gets value. Just V, we're gonna ignore it anyway. So, and in this case, we just toggle pause, right? And that should do the magic. So now we have to tell the button, hey, you have the signal toggled, right? We want to hook this up to the menu and call it on. Wait. We have the in-game pause menu that has a on pause toggled, right? Wrong language again. Sorry about that. I think we need the type here. Is it string? It's string. Okay, let's try this again. Let's try this at home. Why? What if the thing is, if we remove this, right? If we remove this, it will probably no, 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 no. Oh, why? Okay, be my guest, but the problem is now the emit has a parameter, right? This is a nice one that does nothing, and this is the other one that works, right? So the problem is this one here, this one. So sorry for all this one here has the signal, right? But we emit with a parameter. Can we declare this? Can we have a signal that is declared with, hey, this is a signal, but it has a parameter, right? GDScript declare signal with parameter. Oh, okay. So we probably can just do, say, string here, right? And then if we go here and let's disconnect that. And then go here. Why? Why? This gets a string, right? I didn't save that. I did not save Was that the problem? Something is weird here, right? Because this definitely needs a v string. Because then it works, right? And funnily enough, the other one toggles as well. So the toggle button toggles itself, but this button just toggles when we toggle pause, right? So we moved the responsibility of the... So let's remove the other button. I'm still not sure why the connecting of the signal, this one here, right? And this should have picked up that this needs a parameter because this is a string, right? I mean, it picks up on here that there's events, that there's node parameters, right? So let's disconnect this once more. Oh, now it worked. Now it worked. Maybe it was confused because we changed the signature, right? So let's remove the other pause button, the old pause button. Let's just hide it for the moment. Hey, we can pause and have the menu, and the fade is far too long, right? We have a crossfade, which is nice, and we can, it switches to the correct state. So I'm not sure if it switches to the correct state. I mean, theoretically, we could just say print v, right? I'm getting nervous. So let me do this and look here. Oh yeah, that was no, we had to do this weird dance, right? Is it like this? I always forget. It's looking so odd, right? So, okay. No matter how fast I click, I never can do the same state twice, right? Which is kind of what we want. Let's remove this. Let's remove the pause button for good. Yep. That means this can go away, right? It means the pause, so this goes away, right? And this goes away. And actually in the toggle button, I want a slightly faster. Maybe, just maybe, export var toggle duration is a float, and that defaults to 0.3. And then we just use the toggle duration here, right? Oh, come on. No selection. We are dragging on the text. Right, so that probably should be something global, but it feels snappy. Right? And oh, remember we hooked up the P key for the we need to change the toggle button when we press the P, right? So that is probably here. Toggle pause, we say, if action is just pressed, we say toggle pause. And we could just say the pause toggle button, right? The pause toggle button. If it is paused, right, we say go to B to be implemented, right? Go to B, and this is go to A. which obviously doesn't exist in the toggle button container. So here, func go to A, right? Let's do nothing here, and a func go to B, right? And actually, we were going to say here, when A is pressed, we want to go to B, right? And when B is pressed, we want to go to A, and we just copy OK. And this does not trigger a toggle, right? This is a code toggle, so we don't get a double toggle. Go to A, and I'll probably just drag this, right? And this is a go to B. Makes sense. We want this a bit reusable. So we can externally say, hey, this is what the state should be. And then we have internally, yeah, we have the same code, right? So let's see if we totally broke it. This is still working. And if I press P now, that is working. And if I press here and press P and press P and press here and press here a few times, and press P a few times. So the combination of both works, right? So having fun with buttons, but I like the toggle cross thingy. This is coming along so nicely. And I'm dreading the moment where I have to do this in Unity. Okay, I'm gonna do one thing right now, right? And I have no idea where to do this, but do we have like a background color? Godot, set background clear color. Set clear color, probably. Yeah, I don't want the resizing. I just want the clear color. I just want the clear color. This is the panel. Okay. This is not what we want. Set clear color. Set default clear color. And that's on the rendering server. But I don't want to set that from code. Rendering. Environment, default clear color. Okay, let's just set this to a nice blue, right? Because I'm getting tired of that gray. Ah, that's okay. Maybe that shade of blue was not perfect. Let's tweak that a little. Maybe the saturation. Maybe can I? this here, this is broken, right? As this is not matching this here at all. Okay. So this is not working. Is this working? That's slightly better. So let's try this. I would like a bigger preview. Anything is better than the gray. To be honest, I mean, this blue is still, I would love to reduce the saturation, but as soon as I click the saturation slider, everything implodes, right? Oh, here's what I'm gonna do. Here's what I'm gonna do, and I'm not sure if this will work. Excuse me? Excuse me? So what if really this would have been I think it picked it up. I think that worked. Yeah, that's better. That's not this endless gray anymore, right? Yes, we need to fix the background and make it repeat and stuff, but I'm happy about this nice and spiffy thingy here. So now that we played with the buttons, can we finally go to the thing we wanted to do? And that is, the thing we wanted to do is add the in-game pause menu and settings. Right, so let's add the in-game pause menu and settings because we still have some time. And you're still here. Thanks for that. So you have the in-game pause menu, right? And I'm going to add the settings as a child of that, I believe. Right, so this is a top left container. This is top left, right? And what I want is a new panel. So I'm going to add a new panel, probably. I'm not sure. Let's add a panel, right? Let's add a panel. This is a panel, right? And the question is, do I want to theme this or do I just want to put it? What if we put just a texture rect in here, right? We put a texture rect in here and then we just say quick load UI screen frame or screen frame 2. Let's see, textures. It's screen frame 2, right? Because screen frame is a result screen and this is screen frame 2. So this here will need to get screen frame 2. And then we say this one layout is anchors. And we want to say Why is this texture is also anchors, right? And that is also centered. And it's probably on the wrong layer. So this is what I want, right? It feels bigger than the old one. Not sure if we did some scaling magic there. Let's see. Looks roughly the same. There's slightly different aspect ratios, and I think to be honest, I don't think this is centered. This does not look centered to me. All right, so oh, the texture actually has this empty space below it to make it centered. Okay, so this is centered. So we're gonna call this settings panel. Right? And what I want is a margin box that makes sure everything is inside this, actually. Inside this box, right? So why is the settings panel the wrong size? I mean, this settings panel, right, should be the same size as its child. It should auto adapt to that. I mean, we know this texture rack has a size of 1024, right? So we can just say, hey, this is 1024. And then actually you want to center it. All right, so I wish there was a way for UI elements to say, hey, just take the size of your children. Maybe it could have if we had made it a real container, right? So this is the background. And then we add a child node and call it margin container. Which should just use the parent, right? And maybe this texture rack should also just use the parent. Danger here, but so this now, and I'm just gonna add a color rect in here, right? Just for testing out stuff, right? So we see what we're doing, but this margin container here needs to have the margins, and they probably would come from an artist. So constants, margin left is not enough. Let's just start with rough values. I probably could open a photo editor, right? But so I want this red line here to be roughly here. It can overlap here at the bottom a bit. I don't care. Maybe go a bit left to not waste too much space there. And then same for the right side. I mean, right side is almost good, right? So let's say 140. And the top also needs a lot more. So let's say 200, 240. Let's even go 250, right? Just to give it a little bit of breathing room. Let's even go 260. And then the bottom is probably a lot, right? 500 is too much. 400 feels about right. Let's say 380. Right, so this is the area where we actually want to work with. And obviously we don't want the color rec, that's just for visualization, right? And what do we have in there? We have a text box, which is the title of the game, then multi-line, some info, right? And that's all we want to do today. So plus all the fading and stuff that we do anyway, right? And we're not gonna do the music button, so I want a vertical box. I'm gonna add a VBox, right? VBox container. And in that VBox container, I'm gonna add a label. I mean, let's do a rich text label, right? And call this settings title rich text label, and we're gonna push Fiiish v3 Fiiish Godot in there, right? And we're VBox. Why? Oh, this VBox container has the right size, right? But this is not big enough. So layout, container sizing. This looks good, but this is the wrong font, right? So I need to go into the theme actually and say this is, where's the, I need to create a new rich text label, right? So let's make this explicit, right? We add a new type. We add a custom type and call that title rich text label, right? Because it's going to be bigger. We add the type. We add the base type, which is rich text label. Right? We set the base type. Actually, let's assign it first and then, so we go here again. We go into the theme variation and we use the title rich text, which doesn't do anything right now, right? I want to oh, is that actually in the theme? So if I go to the theme now and we have the rich text here, right? We have the normal font. And we only have one font, right? So that's better already. And then we have the normal font size and set this, I don't know, to 96. Maybe that's a bit too much, right? 48. 48. I'm not sure where I set the alignment, so color. Do we want a little bit of outline on that? I mean, do we want a minor outline? Outlines always look good, right? So let's do an outline here. But this is fonts, this is the size, this is, where do I set the text alignment, right? Where do I set the alignment of the text? How do I center this? No auto wrap. Oh, we have the fill on, right? So we want to shrink center and hey, let's see. Let's remove the color rect, right? Oh, we can't. Well, we can't see it in game because it's always on. I think the old one looks slightly better, but we want the same information, right? So I kind of like this. I kind of like this, and let's do the text box as well. Let's do the text box as well. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna settings, info rich text label. And I know I've been mixing and matching postfix and prefix notation a bit. Can I open the theme, please? And can I duplicate this? So info rich text label, right? Oh, that makes me a bit sad now. Probably the point where I would add it in the editor, right? Let's go here real quick and switch the theme variation to info rich text label, right? So we see what we're doing. I'm not sure if my workflow for editing is the best. And we have this version non-final, thanks for testing, right? So let's change the text real quick. Version to do early test version. Early test version. Thanks for playing, right? And in this case, I actually want the layout to be the container sizing to fill, right? And it doesn't really need to expand. It doesn't matter. Let's expand it because we want the buttons below it. And I'm going to add that box, but let's fix the theme real quick first, right? So the theme, we're still in here. Obviously, the font is wrong. So let's always forget to click here. Let's use this font, right? Let's make the normal font size just bigger. Bigger, right? And maybe the difference here is for the text, we have as a text effect, we have a shadow, right? And we have a shadow and we have a shadow outline size. I'm not sure this is working as expected. I expected the shadow, the outline just worked, right? Why didn't the shadow work? So the outline just works, right? And that already makes it look so much better, but why is the shadow not working? Oh, wait. Was the shadow working? I don't think the shadow is working, to be honest. It still looks kind of okay. You could argue maybe we want to like have a dimming panel, but that's a problem. So there's not so much noise on here, but that's an artist problem, right? Let's put the buttons there, even if they don't do anything, just to get my layout right. So we're gonna add an H box, right? We're gonna add an H box here at the bottom, and we're gonna add these two buttons, right? This is gonna be interesting because we're gonna do the same that we do here, right? That we did here, right? So we have a music toggle button. and a sound toggle button. So I wonder, should we do this now? I'm just going to put the non-working buttons in there, right? So I'm going to add a texture button and call this dummy music texture button, right? And I'm going to select the texture for that. Dummy music texture button, dummy music texture button. Where's the texture? Here's the texture, right? And the normal texture is music on. And then I'm gonna duplicate this and call this dummy sound texture button. These will be replaced, right, in a bit. Maybe. I mean, we said we do the dialogue today, right? But I don't want to do music buttons if we don't have music, so I'm not gonna do that today. And this is sound on, right? Sound on, and if you look here, both of these are not centered, which is fine. So the layout is, container sizing is shrink center, right? And if you look here, there probably should be a tiny margin between them. Well, that's also something we'll do when, and since this is expanding, right, it will push the, if this wasn't expanding, the buttons would be up there, but if it's expanding, it says, hey, this field uses up the space, right? And now we have these gigantic buttons that don't do anything in there. And we can play the game behind it, right? Which is not really what we want. This is not really what we want because we can't see what we're doing, right? It looks kind of fancy, but okay. So last thing we do today, no. Next thing we do today is make this button, right? Toggle this thing here. And funnily enough, this is not a toggle button. This is just a button that toggles something else. So, okay, step one. Make this thing here, the settings panel fadeable, right? So we have this button fade. I'm not sure. This is a center container. Okay. So I'm not sure how we do this. Well, I want the, oh wait, we already have that, right? So what if we have a fadeable container here, right? And just put the settings panel in there, which messes up everything. And I'm not sure why. Because layout mode should be this, right? Yeah. So why did it mess up all our layouts? All right, so because the settings panel because a panel cannot be inside a, but we don't need the panel, right? We just need this in here. And then the margin container on top of it. And the settings panel we don't need, right? Why is the margin container layout? Why can't I? Why is this so small? What? I mean, this is the container, right? This is the whole container. This is the texture rect, which is 1000. Why is the settings? Oh, the settings panel is gone, right? Why is the margin container? Why can the texture rect? I mean, okay, we can set this container, right? And just center it. Center. Center. Why is this margin container not the size of its parent? I don't get it. Do you? Why is this container here not the size of its parent? And why can't I change it? Use container properties for positioning. Okay. The container properties are no. We want center with this size, right? Why? What if I mean, that's what I would have expected anyway, to be honest. So there's something weird still ongoing with the container system in Godot, and I'm not sure if it's buggy or just missing some core principles. So we have the same visual look, right? And obviously the buttons don't do anything. This still works and this still doesn't work, right? But it's a fadable now. And now that it's fadable, right? We can say we have the settings button here, right? We have on settings pressed. And then we have the fadable container, and let's call this settings fadable container and make this uniquely accessible. Then we can say, right, this is a fadable, and a fadable we can fade in and fade out. And what if we also had a toggle fade? Right, just for ease of use. So right, and this will basically say, hey, if alpha equals 0.0, if we fade it out, or alpha speed is negative, right? This means we are fading out, then we go to fade in. We could have just a flag that remembers that, right? else, and I'm just gonna do an else if here. If alpha is 1.0 or we're going up, right? Then we switch to fade out. And the rest will just work as before, right? So if we go here, we just say toggle fade, and the duration is, didn't we have a, no, we didn't have. We probably should have a global constant for fade settings. Obviously, it starts in the wrong state, right? But that is exactly what I want. And obviously, if we close this, we need to fade out. So, okay. All right, so we start at fade out. We could just do this in editor, but that would make it a bit clumsy to, so it's not here, right? I can turn it on, I can turn it off. I can turn it on and play the game, which is weird. Turn it off, play the game. So what's missing is if I go to play mode and it is faded in, I want it faded out, right? So when we toggle the pause, and if it's not paused anymore, then we want to handle the button, but we also want to handle this, the settings button fadable container, right? And we just want to fade that out. And that's a nice thing because we can just say fade out 0.3. Again, magic number, bad idea. Bad idea. So this works, right? And this works. And we can get it back, and this works as well. So we don't care about the state it had, right? We just care about the state we want. You're getting there. We are getting there. We are getting there. And obviously the red background I don't want anymore, right? So let's remove the color rect here and hope nothing implodes. Let's hope the sizing wasn't attached to that. It was not that painful. Actually, this was not that painful. And we have, I mean, this button here, right? This button here is basically this button here once we wire them up. Shall we just wire them up? Shall we just do them to see how it feels? Yeah, we shall, but I'll need a few minutes break. So, oh, we could, I mean, sorry about this, but we could abuse the panel for this, right? Be right back. Yes, we could just put that in big fat letters in. We'll play with the be right back, but I'm gonna be right back. Sorry about this. Need fresh coffee and stuff. Excuse me for taking a bit longer, but the coffee was cold again when I came from the bathroom, so had to reheat it. Let's make this be right back a bit nicer, right? Let's make this be right back a bit nicer, and I have evil master plan, right? What if, and I'm just gonna copy and paste, right? What if we took this thing, right? Copied this, put this, paste this here, right? Paste this here, and yeah, the settings panel we don't really need. And we leave all of this, right? And we move the be So what if we call this be right back, right? Which text did I just... Wait, what? Main is off, right? Where's... Okay, it just didn't update. Okay, I was confused there a bit. So this text here in the preview, right, is wrong. So wait, what? So this here, right? This here is this here. The preview is wrong, clearly wrong, right? If I press play, obviously, oh, did I press play? I get the other one, right? Which is okay. If I play the scene, why is this starting faded out? Oh, because we copied the unique name, right? So this is the stream fadable container. And if I run this now, what am I doing wrong? So the game is not running, right? We run the main is not running. We run the... Okay, so the game in the background is doing something with our stuff. To be extended, right? But soon rich label, yeah, soon rich. Oh, maybe we disable the whole bloody thing here and just say, hey, be right back. Taking a little break, right? And maybe we don't need the audio buttons in that. Maybe we just don't need that, right? I still kind of want the game to be running in the background, but that seems to be... Why? Because layers, right? Layers? Layers? Really? Really? I'm not sure about this. So we have the stream, right? We have the stream fadable container here, which is visible. We have all of this. Let's actually go into main. If we disable the main, okay, it's behind the main. It's behind the main, right? So what if we just say this one here, right? This one, the ordering is just a 10. Yeah. And then we can see the dialog behind it, but we know it's there and we can play the game and Maybe I'll do a stream special edition where you can fade this on with a key press or something. But I like this because I wish the fish could be swimming with the world being stopped. But look a bit more dynamic, right? All the animations ongoing, but the fish not dying. We're overdoing this. We're having far too much fun with the UI system. Let's switch back to the main scene. Main scene. Let's press play and see what we just broke. Oh, we wanted to do these buttons, right? Okay, let's do these buttons. These buttons should actually be quite easy because, I mean, we have this toggle button, right? And I'm not sure I want to use, if now is the time to say, okay, you don't have to put these buttons in, we just take the first two children, right? So what we could do is, instead of having this fadable container, right? What if we had instead bar button A is a fadable container, right? And that defaults to null. And B defaults to null, and obviously we can't reuse this here, right? It's gone and now it will crash, right? If I play now, it will say, yeah, bam, no, nada. That was weird. Did you see that? So it crashes. I close it. And it manages to survive one frame every time I close it, and I can't close it. So on ready, we have to do something, and I would love to do that in the editor. So I'm gonna go to Node real quick. And maybe, so we do have the ready, right? Will the ready be called child enter tree? Let's check something, right? Because we're also doing this to understand. No, that is the fadable container, right? We have a, no, that's the toggle button container, and it's button right now, but on child entered tree, right? Was it child entered tree? Child, yeah. Hooray for consistency. So I want to check actually if we switch the scene. It's not called. Okay. Are they entered in order? This is, oh, we are an object. I wanted to go to node. Sorry. So we have a we could just do it in ready, right? It could just do it in the ready. So in the ready, we say var get children, right? And then we say if children dot count is smaller than 2, right? And toggle button container needs at least 2 children. Can we do an arrow here? Push arrow. Right, so it needs why? Too few arguments to count call. This gives us an array, right? And an array has a, oh, it doesn't have, it does have a count. Oh, but count is probably we only want size, right? Size, because count counts based on a condition. Okay, so we want size here, right? And if that is true, we say var c0 equals children 0, right? We're gonna explicitly check both. As fadable container, if c0 equals null, right? Then we push an arrow. First child of toggle button container is not a fadable container, right? And then we do the same for the second child, right? And if both of those holds true, we say, okay, button A equals C0 and button B equals C1, right? Instead of dragging this over here, we just say, hey, the first 2 children you have under the toggle button, right? You can do whatever you want after that, but the first 2 have to be kind of, ideally it should be exactly 2, right? Right? I should get used to remove all the passes when they're not needed. Probably I should remove this process, right? Because it's not needed. We can re-edit when we need it. And let's see if we just broke everything. So this works, but we don't have to do the dragging anymore, right? So if we put a pause toggle button, so we're back here, right? So what if we added a toggle? Oh wait, one thing. Class name toggle button container, right? We need to name it if we want to use it. So here we're going to add it and say toggle button container, right? As the first one here, as the first one, and we drag the dummy button in there. And now it will say, yeah, if I look at the arrows, right, it will say excess of 1. Oh, we got the error. We got the error, right? Needs 2 children, but we continued anyway, which wasn't the smartest move. So we're gonna return here, right? And we're gonna return here. And from there on, all hell will break loose. I wish there was a kind of stop on error. Right, so it got us the error now. Why did it get both of them if we returned? But it didn't crash. Maybe it was from a different... Maybe it was the other one? Okay, now we broke the button, right? So what... Can we get the name of the parent? Push error. Can we do this? Let's say percent name. Pause toggle button. That's the pause toggle button that doesn't have exactly 2 children. Wait, what? That's the pause toggle button that has exactly 2 children. Doesn't it? This style of formatting strings is but has %d. Needs exactly 2 but has 2. Oh. You see it? Not equal to. And now we suddenly only have 1 arrow, which is the other one, right? This one here that's broken now. Well, this one here. Okay. And just for better tracing, we're gonna add %s here. All right, and we're just gonna say %name. So we know where we messed up, right? Let's start this once more because we love error messages so much. Toggle button container. Well, we didn't name that, right? But that's fair. So this is the music toggle button container, right? And this is the music on texture button, right? This is the music on. We're just gonna duplicate it and call it music off. And we want to change the texture here, this one here, right? And this is music off. And if you press play now, we shouldn't get that error anymore, right? Maybe. First child is not a fadable container. Oh, it's not. It's not. Right, so fadable container is the first child, right? Is the first child, and we put the on button in there. So this is the music on fadable container, right? And there's nothing else to do. Well, now it's probably complaining about the second one. Second child is not working, right? But we can fix this. So we will add fadable. Gonna rename this music. I'm pretty sure there's a better way for custom UI, right? So now, finally error-free here. We still need to look into those warnings at some point. So if I open this now and open this, this does nothing because obviously we didn't hook up the clicks. And here's the thing, right? We could just go in here. We could go in here. We could go in here and just wire it up manually, right? I'd just go here and say, hey, by the way, on... Why does this have a toggle? Oh, their toggle is not our toggle. Okay. So we could just do this. All right, and this here, right? This script here has a on A pressed and on B pressed. So I wonder, we could just say, hey, music on texture button, right? We could do this and then go up in the hierarchy and go to the music toggle button container. And say on A pressed, right? On A pressed and connect that. And then we go into the other one, go here, connect pressed, go to the music toggle button container and pick on B pressed, right? And that's one way of doing it. So we open it. And I'm not sure why. I don't know why. Why are we not getting? Okay. It's gonna be a bit ugly now. I wish I could just drag this into a tab, to be honest. So let's remote into this real quick. So we have the UI, we have the in-game, we have the settings, we have the texture rack, the margin container, the vbox container, the hbox container, and the music toggle thing, right? Let's actually put this here, kind of like a fake tab. So let's open this up. Right, so we have this. Now we have this, which is this, and we have the texture button, right? And the texture button is set to mouse. Oh, where is it? Why is this not getting clicks? Oh, live view isn't working here? Ah. Okay, so let's reevaluate this, right? We have wired this on button, this on button has a on A pressed. This goes to on A pressed in the toggle button container, which is this here, right? Can I actually see? So this goes to the music toggle button container on A pressed, right? And on A pressed has a print A, so it obviously never gets called. Oh, because ready. What is going on here? Yeah, let's do that quickly. So I mean, it is getting faded in and faded out, right? So let's actually go in here just to say, okay, in this case, we say print send as fast fade in, right? Just to see if the initialization is correct. Fast fade in, and here we say fast fade out, right? Just to see if our initial state, I'm not sure this is creeping me out a bit. I probably just want this window here. Maybe I just change the default size so it fits, right? So pause button, A, fast fade in, pause button, fade B, fast fade out. Music on fadable container is in and music off fadable container is out, right? So if I click here and if I click here, so music on fadable container, fast fade in, this should be in the correct state, right? So I'm going to add a dummy button there real quick, just as a third option. Just actually we use can use the sound button, right? Let's use the dummy sound button. Let's add a script. And just say pressed on dummy sound button, on pressed, right? We're going to say dummy sound button pressed. I just want to see if we can click anything in that dialog, if that dialog is broken, right? We cannot click this thing. Why can't we click this thing? Let's remote into that. So we have the UI. We have the in-game pause menu. Oh. Okay. So the problem is the same we had before, right? So the top left, wait. No, there's no overlap between these two, so I thought maybe this is blocking this clicks here, but why is this button not clickable? Right, why is this button not clickable? The visibility is on. and mouse is stop. The other button we probably broke, right? But why is this not clickable? Let's try this again. Right, we're talking about the dummy button here, right? With this texture, it's this thing here, right? This should be, I mean, that this is not working, I get we might have broken it, but why is this not working? I have no idea. It's visible, right? The mouse filter is stop. With why is this button not clickable? Because we paused the system, right? So we paused this dialog. So the process mode is inherit, which means take it from a parent. And if you go all the way up, right? So for the, excuse me? And that's why I don't like to stop processing and thought we're going to do it in game. So, right, for the settings button, we said, wait, for this here, process mode, for the top left, why? Wait. But the in-game pause menu, right, has process mode always. So this should have process mode always. I want to test the, oh, sorry about that. Right, print process dummy. I want to see if this is true. This should be spamming right now, right? This should be spamming like crazy. It's spamming. It's spamming, right? It keeps spamming. If I pause, it's still spamming, right? If I open this, so it's it wasn't the always. So why in hell is this onPressed not called? Again, I'm sorry. It's being processed. It's a texture button. It's not disabled. I'm sorry. I'll be back. So why is this not called? Right? It's here, right? Why is this never called? Okay, I'm gonna go extreme. I'm gonna copy this and just put it, I mean, don't hate me. I'm just gonna put it on top of it, right? Okay, this works. So what's the difference, right? Let's put it on the texture rect. All right, let's move it down the hierarchy to see where it stops working. There it still works, right? So, all right, so let's move it inside the margin container. There it works. This one doesn't. This does, right? So let's move it inside the VBox. And inside the VBox container, it stops working. Why? Why? So it's not our toggle button logic, right? So inside the VBox container, how? Inside the VBox container, do we need to? No. I mean, I would understand if it works directly under this, but it still works under the texture rect, but not under, it works under the margin container, but it stops under the VBox container, right? But why did we? Why is this set to pass? Are all our VBox containers set to pass? HBox container. Mouse is set to pass. I mean, what's the difference between pass and... I'm gonna regret this. It's not that, right? It's why. Why is this button not clickable here? I mean, again, right? I put it in the margin container. Did we skip the margin container? Is it the margin container that messes things up? Margin container works, right? Let's just add a VBox container, right? VBox container 2 and drag it in there. Let's see if it works in the other container. It works in the other container. So what's the difference between this VBox container and this VBox container? right? So layout. Layout is, thank you for the scroll bar. Layout is clip contents. The settings are the same, right? The transform is obviously, it's the same, right? It's a bit hard to see, but 644, 384, 240, 260, right? These are the same. The container sizing is fill. Container sizing is fill. So it's not the layout, right? Localization tooltip focus mouse, right? Mouse is pass. So mouse is pass. There's no input. The Steam override, there is none. The visibility is on. So why does the button work here and not here, right? So again, we press the button and the dummy button is pressed, right? We move the dummy button to the other container. And it's not clickable anymore. Why? It does not make any sense at all, does it? So let's disable all the other stuff in this thing, right? It's not working in this VBox container. So what if I move this here and we move all this stuff also here, right? And ignore the positioning. I just want to see if, so our dummy button, this one works and this one doesn't. What the? So let's move this dummy to the bottom, right? Nope, I want it under this here, right? What the? So. Wait, didn't it just? So if we move it up here. Yeah, that's not what I wanted. If we move it up here, right, it works. If we move it after the first rich text, sorry for not grabbing it, right, it still works. If we move it after the second rich text, it still works. If we move it after the H box, it stops working. How? How? Right? What if he? Even if the H box is the pure existence of that H box, right? is breaking things. Okay, project settings, size, window, 1820 by 1024, right? Let's make that 600 by 400. Just so I don't have to constantly... That was not... 1820 by 1024. That's the viewport height, right? Oh, because we do all the mass based... Okay, I'm not gonna touch that for the moment. But what if we add an HBox container here, right? Here. And put the dummy in between these two. Right? It's before the broken one, but after the working one. So as soon as I have an HBox, so if I move it before that HBox, right? Maybe move it before that HBox. It did work, right? I did not. If I move it at the beginning of this, something is wrong with the container. Here it's working, right? Here the button is working. I move it after the first label. It's working, right? I move it after the second label. I move it after the second label. I don't get it anymore. This is the margin container, right? This is the color rect, so we are in the box. This is the V box we got rid of, right? This is the V box that doesn't exist anymore. This is the new V box, right? So let's remove this V box. Let's remove this new H box, and this H box is not used, right? This button should be clickable. What the? I don't understand. I do not understand. Because, because... Let's restart Godot. I just want to be sure. Is the button clickable? I cannot click this button, right? But if I move this button just up here, it's clickable. So if I move this down here, right, it becomes unclickable again. Oh, wrong button. It becomes unclickable. What if I disable this? What if I disable this? It's clickable. If I enable this, oh, it's clickable. And this is also working. So, okay. So we can remove the dummy here, right? We remove the dummy. So what does this do that destroys this? And this is the box, right? And this is the box. And this is the box. I'm not sure, but maybe there's some miscalculation going on because we have the expand here, right? What does happen if we disable the expand? It works. So I want the expand here, right? And it's doing the right thing, but I have the feeling that this box we're seeing is not actually the box we're using. So I wonder if we can just say this box ignores and have that as a workaround. Why? Do we need to? So what if we also told this container to expand, which is a bit weird now. Let's go layout, transform, no container sizing. Shrink center, and this one also. Layout. There's something strange going on, right? So the sad thing is now if we expand this, right, it will move up. I don't want it moved up, but I want to see if it's clickable. So as soon as this text box here is expanded, right? Right. This is working. Maybe it was too quick. But as soon as I click this box, right, which makes this box bigger, which is what we want, but it does the calculation correctly. It's not clickable anymore. So, and this is also set to expand, right? So, I mean, if this expand would fix it, why? Because, and the button sizes and everything is calculated correctly, right? So what if we set the, oh, we can't set the anchor mode here, right? We could have a VBox in a VBox. But I don't want that. I mean, technically it's nicely laid out. And so I'm going to book this as a Godot bug for the moment, right? I would love this. I would love this. What if we add a control? What do we add? Just Nah. We got quite distracted, right? What? Wait, what? Let's disable both expands. Okay, as soon as one of them is expanding, right? So, oh, I set the stretch ratio to 0, right? Let's set the stretch to 1. Wait. The upper left is working and the lower right is not working. Wait. So the upper part of the button is working and the lower part of the button is not working. There's something broken. So if I set the expand, do I have the same problem, right? They're both expanding, but I want this to have priority, right? So so if I click the very top, right? The very top, it works. If I click the middle, it doesn't work. Now this sounds like an engine bug. I mean, it shows us the correct frames, right? These frames are correct. These are what we expect. So I kind of this is weird. I'm going to research this off stream, right? This is costing us too much time right now. And we got quite off track. So what if we set all of these? Wait. All of these. Right, so we set, I just set this to expand instead of shrink center. Well, it's shrink center, but horizontal expand shouldn't. I mean, we could just, right? It doesn't change anything because there's something weird going on. And also, is it working now? Only if I click the top part, right? Yeah. Okay, maybe I need to create a minimal reproduction of this, right? Maybe I will. Maybe I will. So let's do this exercise again, right? We add a toggle button container. We call this sound toggle button container. And then we add a fadable container. And we call this sound on fadable container, right? And then we add another fadable container. No. In there and call this sound off fadable container. And then we add a texture button here. No, this sound on texture button. And then we add another texture button and call this sound off texture button, right? And the dummy thing we just removed for the second. This texture here will be sound on, button sound on. And this one here will be button sound off. Right? And then we wire up the pressed to the music. Probably we should do that in code, right? To the sound toggle button container. And we pick a pressed. And for this, we say pressed. Same thing, sound toggle button container, pick on be pressed, right? And if I press play now and open this and hit the very top, so that fade is working, right? And that fade is working as well. I have no idea. But we don't have music and sound right now, so we're gonna put it on the back burner and fix it when we get there. So I think we did a good job today. We made the UI nicer, the buttons. We added this screen. I mean, I like it. I like it. Unfortunately, I believe, to be honest. Oh no. No, it was nice while it lasted, right? But why am I crying? Why am I crying? Because we kind of did this, right? And actually we put it in later. Hash Godot figure out why only top portion of music and sound buttons is clickable in settings. And I have no idea, right? But what did we do today? 2024 10:05, right? Godot add cross fading toggle buttons and add in game settings dialog partially working. That looks good. So I don't want to go back to Unity. So we staged the to-do file, right? And actually this is, I don't want to go back to Unity. This will kill my motivation. Add cross-fading toggle buttons to Godot. 15. So I want to talk about that number. Add in-game settings dialog to Godot. Right? We had episode 15. Don't forget that. We had episode 15. Each episode having like three hours. Me talking a lot to you and figuring out the. So we had 45 hours in. So this is 1 week of work, and we have a Unity and a Godot version that is kind of playable. If I had spent all my time on one version, this game could probably be done. Let's see how far we go, but we're making good progress, is all I'm saying. Settings button, the fade in and fade out. This font is abysmal. So we added the handler. We have the dummy button in there. Yeah, that's fine with me. We have the main scene. We tweaked the stream scene. We added more labels and stuff. I changed the clear color. Okay, we have the dummy sound texture button. We have the fadable container. We have the toggle button container. The DS store, I'm not going to commit. And that's it, right? Commit, rebase, push. This is a weird bug. I wouldn't even know how to explain it, but I'll search bug reports offline. 3 hours, that's a good time. Let's see, this should have triggered a build. This triggered a build. Let's see how far the build is. Let's play around a fish. I want to see. What was the record for the first 90 seconds? 4, 5, and soon we'll have a countess for maximum coins. Coins per meter. Coins per meter. Oh, you could have it like a hype train counter that is like coins per meter that slows down. And ooh, rain. Bring it on. And can I get the explode? Oh, this explosion looks so nice. I think we need to do a backport to Unity, right? Yeah, I'm afraid we have to. Bam! This is so nice. I like it. I like it. And also the, hey, here, explosion and rain and explosion rain and bring it on and endless waves of more coins and more rain. And can we catch the rain in the rain? Yes, we can. And can we catch the explosion? No, we can. Come on, explosion, explosion, and rain, and rain, and oh, more coins, all these coins. How am I gonna spend all these coins? The blue one. I missed it. Don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die. You're doing good. Don't die. So this is where it would pay instantly to get a better magnet. Right now in this run, just press pause, go to the stop shop, upgrade the magnet, and keep playing. This is almost a game now. This is almost a game now. And the domain is still not transferred. I'm sorry about that. It's only gonna take another week, right? Something is killing the frame rate a bit, but it might be my machine, so I'm gonna ignore that. Performance is not on the list right now. I think let's see how that build is doing, right? That build completed and is uploaded to the S3 bucket. So as soon as the domain is working, actually let me try something. Let me try something. So yeah, no, because I've got it running in a web browser. The problem is it's on a server that you're not supposed to see. So I mean, this is where it should be, right? This is where it should be, but the problem is we're moving that to a CloudFront distribution, so we need to move the domain. So, but thanks for playing. It was a nice day. We made some progress. That Godot thing is why is this button clickable here but not here? That's out of my control, but I'll search the Godot forums for, or maybe create a minimal sample project. Probably I'll do that. I will do that. It's Saturday evening. I'm hungry, so I'm gonna make dinner. And you stay safe out there. And on Tuesday, it's probably Unity again. You have to do what you have to do. Thanks for being here. Stay safe and bye bye.